Carl Tucker, I'm the godly, glorious, gorgeous, genius guru individual that's on a mission to make God Technology Corporation, starting with CPS, collision prevention systems, which will unquestionably save 135 million human lives per century, which, so you understand the magnitude of the importance of this content in egon.tech, just visualize what a pile of 135 million humans looks like. So, like, when you go into a big city, like, well, depending on what you consider a big city, but I'm from Spokane, Washington, and there's 500,000 people there. Anyway, so you double that, the entire Spokane, and it's huge. Anyway, or if you go to condensed locations, even, no, and it's not really condensed, like, look at the size of Seattle. Anyway, and then visualize the amount of human bodies that is prevented from brutal death that will unquestionably die if collision prevention systems is not created. Collision prevention system is the innovation of retrofitting our current vehicles so they're not killing people. As far as I'm aware, nobody's doing that. Like Bosch is, and Tesla, of course, are leading the field in autonomous driving. But as far as I'm aware, Bosch is primarily working with current car manufacturers rather than being on the seeking the path of retrofitting vehicles, which is totally different. And where the real problem, and not necessarily, the problem lies in both places. But the 135 million that are being killed are the ones that don't have proper safety sensors. And in order for a vehicle to be allowed to go on a public road, we should be able to ensure that that vehicle is not going to splatter my family or your family all over the road. And the only way to do that is with a collision prevention system, which just monitors the environment. Humans still drive their car the exact same. It just uses what's called steer-by-wire and brake-by-wire and accelerate-by-wire, or act-by-wire is actually how I believe that Bosch calls it. Anyway, it enables it so that, like, let's say I go to accelerate or I go to turn my wheel, and there's a car right next to me in my blind spot. Well, with steer-by-wire, the computer would know that, I mean, because it can see them, and it would see that command to turn over there, and it would see that it would cause a collision. And so that command would not be sent through to the control unit, which, that controls the steering. So though the human would say turn, it would not end up going through to the system that actually controls the turning of the vehicle, because the monitoring system, the collision prevention system, is able to determine what will and will not cause a collision based on human input, which is extremely, extremely, like I said, the magnitude of it. And here's the worst part of it that people don't understand is, like, imagine that, and this happens every single day. Normally when people die in car collisions, it's not like a whole family goes at once. It's normally like the husband is killed, or the wife, or anyway, and the level of unthinkable reality that is, and knowing that we could prevent it for even just one person would make it worth it. But we can prevent it for more than one. We can prevent it for everyone by making global systems that create collaboration on an international level. Because, and this is a really good saying from my grandpa, Tucker. I come from a long line of LDS bloodlines, which I'm really proud of that, because they didn't drink alcohol, which is really important. I've seen I'm like, let people do whatever they want, but there's nothing as harmful as alcohol. Nothing. Like, that's the only one that, I mean, I would still let I would have a government distribution program, but I would have it, you're on your property, you're not allowed to leave your property if you have alcohol in your system at all. You're not allowed to leave your property because too much shit happens from it. Humans are just mentally retarded. Like, regular smart humans are the equivalent of mental retards when they become intoxicated. It's so embarrassing to witness. That's why I don't drink. Anyway, because people think that they're becoming happier, smarter, funnier, or anything like that, and they're actually just dumber. Anyway, and so yeah, I don't mean to bash on alcohol because I know that pretty much everybody drinks it, but it's a good idea to at least moderate it. Then, if you do drink it, yeah, because that's how I started drinking alcohol. Is I read that it's healthy to have a couple of glasses of wine per day. Or a couple of shots or something like that. It reduces your chance of cardiovascular disease. But anyway, and then I ended up just like, and that's totally irrelevant. I don't even know why I'm talking about that. Oh yeah, I do know why I'm talking about that, because the importance of having that not present in people's life. It is just 100% problematic. And it's 100% guaranteed or 100% preventable based on how people feel. If people have no way to feel good other than resort to alcohol, they're going to resort to alcohol. That's the problem that our country has right now. Alcohol is killing 90,000 Americans per year just from alcohol poisoning. That's how many they walk in the room and their wife or husband is there blue dead from alcohol poisoning. 90,000. And then in addition to that, there's also 500,000 that are painfully and slowly killed from radioactive particles being on tobacco. EPA.gov. That's not some conspiracy theory. I got that information from EPA.gov. It says it's been known for some time that tobacco is not the carcinogen, but the radioactive particles that are on it from the atmosphere or their fertilizer. You can just Google search EPA.gov and you can see all the information. I'm impressed that these databases did work. I mean, even though they can be misused, they worked for their proper purposes. Like, my favorite place where I practically live is, whenever I'm researching anything, is the United States National Institutes of Health and Journal of Medicine, which is where I study the pharmacology of all different plant alkaloids. And it's so important because it controls how humans feel and what they do. Oh yeah, that's one thing that I'm going to be doing. So for some reason, I'm the first human to make human food. And what do I mean by that? A food that has all the nutrients humans require, like dog food or cat food, I make human food. Anyway, and I'm the first one to make human food. One drink that contains all the essential amino acids, the essential fatty acids, all of our vitamins, minerals, everything like that the human body requires in one drink that tastes really good. Really, really good. Because I have it mixed with cane sugar. And people are like, oh, sugar's so bad for you. Wrong. Cane sugar has a lower glycemic index than bread. Gram for gram, you're better off having cane sugar than you are bread. So anyway, people are... And the reason sugar has a bad rep is because there's this thing called high fructose corn syrup, which is not sugar. It is a bunch of sugar molecules that are combined that the body cannot use. Not one cell in the body can use it. The only thing that can be done with it is the liver metabolizes it, breaks it down because it recognizes it as a toxin, and turns it into fat, pure fat. And then the body stores the fat. And that's why there's a bad reputation with sugar. Our body runs on it. It's glycogen. That's like being like, oh, the goddamn gas is so bad for the cars. Every time we put the gas in there, eventually that vehicle breaks. And it's not the fucking gas, that's just the way things work, wear and tear. But anyway, our body's fuel source is glycogen, which glucose is the direct precursor to glycogen. And our brain runs on it. And so when people are deprived of cellular fuel, they're really stupid. And I think that that's one of the major problems that we have in the world. And it's easy to address and fix with the people's safer substance source. It is not optional. How could anybody question whether or not we're going to have families assaulted, whether or not we're going to be a poor, impoverished, anti-liberty land, or a wealthy land of liberty and prosperity, which is what's infinitely guaranteed with the people's safer substance source. It generates $5 trillion a year for private contracts for whoever produces them right now. But and it increases the amount that those molecules they're collecting for them by making it a fixed percentage of people's income. It changes a $250 billion market, annual market, into a $5 trillion as a minimum. That's just based on the 2020 statistics, but I mean, like, overall, the amount of money that's circulating per year is increasing, which by default would mean that the revenue of the federal government would be increasing also. But this has profound effects on the federal revenue of like doubling or tripling its annual ability while lowering the burden it is on each individual. Like, we can completely do away with income tax. We can have the people safer substance source tariffs, and then expense taxes. Expense tax, that a certain percentage goes to the federal government and a certain percentage goes to the state. And that way, people have incentives to not spend their money, because once they spend their money, they get taxed at that rate. And so they will be just less inclined to buy when they're taxed at that point, instead of at the point of income. When you tax them at the point of income, then they're like, oh, well, I want to limit my income so that I can limit the amount that I have to pay. When no, that's not what we want as a country. That's the total opposite of what we want. So it's really important that these things are communicated, because like I said, they're not optional. It's completely unconstitutional to take an American's property, to take their plants or anything like that, or break in their house. That's so illegal. It's so illegal. It's specifically written in our Constitution that that's outlawed. The government's never allowed in our home without a warrant issued by a judge that is based on logical public safety, not are they growing a flower downstairs? Like, I got my house broke into and like 40 people with assault rifles pointed at me. No, there was like 20. Screaming bloody murder because they thought that I was growing cannabis because my basement lights were on at night. Wackos, I know. And that's how they got their warrant for it. And there was a soda can in the garbage. They would take my garbage at night and go through my garbage. What the hell? Like, what the tweaker land? Seriously, who's the tweaker? Who's taking someone's garbage and going through it? You know? Anyway, so spread this information, gospel that you got. It only spreads if you spread it, and it's so imperative for the future of all of us as individuals, for our financial future, for our future happiness and everything. So spread it. Love you, DOGE family.